Hey guys, it's Rodimus Primal. I'm back with another video, and today I am bringing you guys my review for Transformers Siege War for Cybertron Springer. And I have been waiting to open him up. I've had him for about 2 weeks now. Someone sent him to me, and I really wanted to get this toy just for the sheer reason that he exudes everything about G1. I mean, I have the Generations toy, and a lot of people really like the Generations toy. And I have a G1 Springer, but I really wanted a updated version of G1 Springer, and this looks like to be the one that will suit that, itch for a Springer that gives, that stocky bot who says he's got better things to do tonight than die. So I'm going to open him up, and we're going to take a look at him. So sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Okay, so here is Springer outside of the packaging, and you can see that I decided to actually start this review with him in robot mode for the sheer reason that his transformation is a little bit tricky, and you kind of want to be able to see how to transform him in each direction because there's some trickiness to his different modes. But in robot mode, let's take a look at him nice up front and personal. There you can see all of the different detailing that they've added, all of the battle damage. Some people really like this battle damage. Again, I'm not a big fan of the battle damage, and I usually try to remove it, but it's very difficult to do when it is painted on top of the paint. And you can see all of the detailing on his robot mode on his side here, as well as on his back. His articulation is pretty good. You have a lot of articulation in his arms. You can actually move his arm almost all the way around. There is some clearance issues because of how, here on his arms, which is perfectly fine because you can get his arm straight up, you can get his arm straight down, you can get him to go out. He has bicep swivel. He does have his elbow. He has wrist articulation. And, of course, he has it on both arms. The legs, of course, can go up and down. They can go out. They can bend at the knee. And then, of course, what you probably already just saw right here is the QC thing that I kind of have a problem with, is that this does not clip in very well. It seems to have an issue when you're, playing with it to try and bend the knee, and all of a sudden this happens, which it's really not that big of a deal if you know what you're doing. You can kind of say, like, okay, well, maybe he gets blasted in his knee and there he is, he's damaged or something like that. But in reality, it's kind of like, come on, you could have done something better to, like, get this to clip in, and stay in. It kind of seems that they make improvements on a mold the second time around, and a lot of people are wondering, like, who's going to end up being the repaint for Springer. But, we'll see what they do when it comes down to it. But getting his feet, of course, his feet can go up and down, and his ankles can tilt side to side, so you can get those wider angle poses. You can get him to be, standing there like as if he's all proud. And then on top of that, he comes with two different blasters, which you can see. This one is more like his G1 blaster, and then he comes with his second blaster, and they do connect just like so. So he does have a rifle. He comes with two swords, and both swords, are very detailed. My copy, one of the swords you can probably see is bent, which does not make me a happy camper, but that's okay because usually he's only going to use one sword anyway. And he does come with the part that attaches for his helicopter mode. Now, the thing is that he's got a lot of different 5mm ports, and you're probably wondering, okay, well, where do I store, his weapons? You can try to store the sword here on the side. Kind of looks silly. You can try and add this to the back, but this part turns, so, you're going to have this part turning, and it's not going to be as you want it to try and get the posability. But that's okay because, when it comes down to it, you're going to want Springer to just, look awesome, whether he has his blaster in one hand, like so. We'll add the one sword, and he can have his heroic poses all ready to go, and he can go off saying, okay, well, now this is the fun part. And it certainly is the fun part when you take a look at his original toy. This is my original G1 Springer that I've had over the years. You can tell how much battle damage he has gone over. Like, literally, since 1986, this toy has been played with quite a bit. You can see that there's the chrome wear, and his sword is not standing upright, and I've lost his blaster. So, you know, at least this original G1 Springer has still alive, still got his rubber tires, so it's still cool to see that with his original robot mode. And I wanted to show this off. This is Energon's Bulkhead. And of course, in the Super Link cartoon, which is the Japanese series, he went by the name of Sprung, which is the Japanese name for Springer. So basically, in Super Link, the Japanese version, this was Springer. He only turns into a helicopter. He has a stupid, like, waist-mounted missile launchers, which... don't get me started on Energon. Energon's just a bad cartoon. So this is just really, the US name is Bulkhead, but that is just another version of Springer. And everybody wanted to see this comparison. Wanted to see this version of Springer versus this one. And to be quite honest with you, I like this new Siege Springer a lot better in comparison. When you compare the two, I don't know, like, it's just something about this bulky, stocky robot in comparison to this one. A lot of people are fans of the IDW comics, so they love the Wreckers comics, and so they love this version of Springer, but Siege Springer is definitely going to be my go-to. I honestly think that, you know, at this point, I may just go off and add this one to the sell bin. As much as I like this one, I like this one a lot more. Now, if we're going to get this toy ready for transformation, what I'm going to do is I'm going to transform him from robot to car first, and this way you can see the transformation and see how everything is done. It is a little tricky. That is the thing about this particular Springer toy that you're going to notice when you try to transform him. The transformation is not as easy as you might think. The first thing that I recommend doing is opening up the chest and kind of pulling that up a little bit. And then what ends up happening is this actually loosens the connectors for the arms, so you can pull them out and then get them ready for transformation. The green bits here on the sides of the car, they're going to fold out, and then you are going to pull this up to get this to get the actual hood of the car in. But the thing is about it is you have to, like, get it up and over and get it in the head. So it's more so like you have to, like, get it around the head, get it in there like this, and then close it so you get a smoother car. So it's, like, weird how it, like, ends up folding over. It doesn't fold over like you would normally think. The other next part here is we're going to take out the arms and close them over. And this actually goes right into here. We're going to do the same thing. Oh, something to take note of is that you can, fold, when you do fold these back like this, it kind of gives you that G1-esque thing with his arms, which I'll show you again when I show his robot mode off. But you get that on both arms. And then what you're going to do, and then the next step, what you're going to do is you're going to take this hinge right here. Get this ready to go up. This hinge on the back has to take the whole assembly backwards. So getting it in is a little tricky. You almost have to, like, get this ready to slide so it lines up like so. And when it is like this, you can then move the arms in like this. Trying to show off the transformation on camera is not as easy. But you get that in so you can see what's happening is this peg is connecting to here, and that's what's happening on this end. It slides in like so, and you just push it in. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other arm. We're going to fold it all the way up, like so. Get the parts to connect. And then the front part of the car is done. From here, what you're going to actually do is you're going to, like, rotate the legs. But what you end up having to do is you have to fold these out to get the spoiler bit out. Kind of like these, like wings. Not really like a spoiler. And then you close that back up and over. Do the same thing on this side. Going on. Close it. And then bring it back over. And then what happens is that the feet kind of turn on this like odd angle. And I'm going to try and like get the top of the car up enough so that these, you can almost see the grooves right here where the feet are going to go. They actually end up coming in like so. It's like you would think they go underneath, but they don't. They actually go on the top here, and you're going to end up having to connect the legs in the same manner. Do that this side. Then the back of the car connects. Then it's much flatter, and we can bring the back section of the car and that has to like just connect just right. There we go. So all of the tabs have to match, and you'll notice that as you're trying to bring the whole back of the roof of the car down. And there he is in car mode. Try to see if I can get a little closer. You can see him just like that, and he looks really cool in his car mode. It almost looks like it comes like right out of the movie. That is something that I really appreciate, how much effort was put to make the car mode look like this, because the engineering shows that like this design does work, you know, as a rocket car. And something else that's cool is if you can take the double blaster, what the instructions tell you to do is to take the two blades of the sword, connect them on the sides like this, and then they attach to the top of the like helicopter turret. Goes on top just like so, and you end up getting this like spinning blaster. I forgot what it's called. It actually says what it is, like I think on the back of the packaging. But because of that one-turned sword, it looks weird sticking out like that. I can't actually turn the sword around. Do it this way. But it's just kind of like a QC issue. Like when it came out of the packaging, I was like, oh man, I've got a crooked sword. That's not cool. But it does look better, a lot better this way. Okay, and so for his comparison in his car mode, here he is next to his G1 car, because G1 is classic. And next to the Generations Thrilling 30 car mode, which, again, this is where I wanted to display like the differences between them, because a lot of people want to know like which version should you get. If you want more of like a souped up car, I think this works probably better for another character, whereas this works, I think, really well for Springer. Or I would say this works really well if you're a fan of the IDW version of the character. But I kind of have like a soft spot for this rocket car myself. And when you compare him to his 86 friends, of course, here you've got Cup, got Blur, you have Ultra Magnus here in the back, RC riding on top. Leading them into battle will be my Rodimus Prime, seeing it all in car mode, so you can get a good glimpse of the differences between them all. Now, transformation into his helicopter mode takes a few extra steps that I was not expecting when I was transforming it for the first time, but it is a pretty interesting way of transforming it. What you actually have to do, first you're going to need to open this up pull the legs all the way out, which is kind of weird because you think about it, like, why would you need to do this? Well, there is a difference in the way that this transforms. These parts here actually remain open. We're going to separate the legs. And what you have to do is tilt these all the way out, like so. This panel does the same thing on this side. And then the panel does the same thing going this way. So it ends up becoming like this really long, you know, part here, which you're kind of looking at it going like, okay, well, how does this connect to this? And this is where, like, I was having a lot of confusion as I was first time I was transforming it. And you're going to take the waist itself, I have to separate on that side, and you have to turn it all the way around like this. Do the same thing on that side. And then there is a hinge right here. And these fold in like so. And that's what actually creates the length of the helicopter itself. And first time I transformed this, I was like, how in the world does this go together? And so basically everything like separates out. And then these feet here turn in. And do the same thing on this side. Then you close it back up, and it goes in the same place that it did before. And then everything kind of like folds into place, like so, except it's not as connected as it was previously, because the back of the helicopter connects to everything slightly different place. But everything pegs together like so, and that's how you end up getting the helicopter. Of course, you can see I ended up making a mistake, and this part separated on me. Fix that. So, if you make a mistake, of course, it's one of the joys of transforming any Transformers toy, is making that mistake the first time and going, how did I get from here to here? And then you go, oh, that's where it goes. And then these kind of open up a little bit. So what you're going to have to do for the helicopter arms is separate it from here. Then fold this wing out, and then it turns around like so. Actually, what I'll do is I'll keep this open like this, reconnect it, and then there is a hook right here that kind of stops it. And you do the same thing on this side, so that, show it to you a little bit closer, see what I'm doing, and open it, pull it out like so, reclose it, bring it like that, and then instead of coming out like all the way out here like you do for the car mode, you actually bring it back a little bit, and everything still lines up in a different way, but in a little bit of a different way, so that you get this closed up helicopter like so. And the last part here connects to that peg right there, that peg right there, and everything clips in. Kind of weird how everything clips together, but once it does, it looks, you know, a lot better than, you know, me trying to snap it all together in place, because it's just like you put one piece in and then one part comes out, and it's kind of the joys of transforming any Transformers toy. Here I am having this difficulty again. Okay. And the next bit you're going to do here is take the gun off the helicopter bit, connect these to the sides. That is how you get your helicopter. And here he is in his helicopter mode. Everything spins really well. You have a choices of where you want to place his blasters in vehicle mode. I'm going to place them like so. You can get an attack helicopter. Of course, if you've seen my Airwolf video, you'd know he doesn't take no guff. Okay, now for some helicopter comparisons. Here he is next to his G1 Springer. So you can see both of them have spinning blades, wave each other. You can see the clear influences from one Springer to the next. Then, of course, we have Energon Bulkhead in his helicopter mode. You can see the influence on Springer itself. But one thing that's interesting about this particular Springer is this one actually has a spinning copter gimmick. And I think he looks pretty cool in helicopter mode. But then the one that everybody has been comparing it to is Rolling 30 Springer. When you look at both helicopters, I like this as an Earth helicopter mode. I do. I just happen to notice that there is a lot of copter clearance. Like if you end up bending the back of the legs here, it ends up hitting the back of the wings on this one. Whereas this, it doesn't have that. But this one is missing having actual tail wings for his, for his copter mode. But again, this is supposed to be a Cybertronian copter anyway, so this works, for an Earth-style version. But then transforming him back, that's where the real fun begins. Of course, we're going to take the blaster and the helicopter's blades off and get him transformed into his robot mode so you can see how it's done and get an understanding about how everything is supposed to work. So, of course, we're going to flip the backpack out, get his legs out from underneath there, which is not the easiest part, but first you have to separate the arms, fold these out, and we're going to put the wings in, fold this part so the arms, the legs in, kind of completing everything. It's almost like putting everything back together. It's like he literally like splits apart into pieces to become his familiar, robot mode. And then we're going to turn everything this way. And spread his legs back open to form his waist. Just as we always do, we form feet and legs, then we form arms and torso, and then we form the head. Yes, I know. Everybody always says, every time I do a toy review, what is this, Voltron? I say, well, hey, you know what? I grew up in the 80s, so I am going to have 80s references galore when it comes down to reviewing a toy, because I grew up in that era, and you're going to hear a lot of that, in conversation with me, whether it's with a toy review or whether it's anything else. Getting this part here is always a tricky part. You have to, disconnect it. It's out. Open up the head. And close these up. Now, getting the arms and everything into place is where the tricky part comes in. We need to get this into position so that the waist itself is up. So you have to move this hinge up. And what that does is that allows you to get these arm connectors here to connect to the pegs on the sides here, because there is this peg right here that it has to fit in, and it's kind of weird how it fits in there. But once it does, everything connects to it, and then you can actually move the chest itself down, and you have to do it on both arms. Get them both into position. And then this whole part can kind of come down. At least as far as I've noticed, getting everything lined up just right, so that is like the hardest part of transforming the robot mode of this toy. I've tried transforming him multiple different ways, like, you know, over the last couple days, like as I've been like playing with it and getting this like part connected here on that one, and bringing the whole chest assembly down so it all snaps and clips together is tricky. But once you understand how it works, it's much easier to do, of course, when you're not on camera, and trying to do this from, like, you know, looking over a light and looking over a, you know, a camera and microphone and everything else in front of you. But there he is back in his robot mode, and getting him to stand. And again, he looks, I still say, this Springer toy, I am very pleased with it. I've always been happy with the, you know, the designs for Siege. You know, some people like the vehicle modes. I like the vehicle modes for this, like, specifically because, you know, it keeps it the Cybertronian look to it and keeps Springer looking awesome. So, at the end of the day, what do I think of Springer? I honestly think that Springer is a worthwhile toy to get if you are a fan of the 1986 movie. I definitely recommend getting your hands on this Springer. If you like the IDW Wreckers Springer more, then, you know, of course you can try and get yourself hunted down that one, but I honestly prefer this Springer in particular over others. So dynamically, Springer looks fantastic, and we're going to compare him next to his other 86 bots. Here is Leader Class Rodimus Prime from Power of the Primes. And of course, standing in a little bit smaller is Siege Ultra Magnus, which I really do want to get the leg extenders for this Ultra Magnus to make him a little bit taller. Here he is next to RC, next to Blur, and Cup. And we're going to see here if we can focus in on everybody here. And it gives a nice little flavor of the 86 cast and the size differences between them. And you can see how much, how different, like, RC is much smaller, of course. And that was Legends, Cup, and Blur. And Springer stands, like, I honestly think he just looks really good next to his other 86 cast members in every single way. I think this is the definitive Springer, in my opinion. If you prefer the Generations Thrilling 30 Springer, I mean, that's your choice, or the premium edition that came with the recolored other molds. But these are the Takara Legends versions of these three. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of Siege Springer? Do you think that he is a worthy addition to your collection, or do you think that the Thrilling 30 Springer is a better toy? I mean, personally, I think that this one is, but, you know, I want to know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you like this review, be sure to thumbs up and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. I have more Transformers videos, discussions, and everything coming soon. Be sure to check out my previous videos as well, and as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.